Welcome to this week's edition of The Passion of the Digital Artist. And here he is, that passionate tradigital artist himself, Jeff.
Wow! That's a good take too, yes!
Yeah, that was bad. Well, should you take one of the outtakes sometime?
Popped out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Tape one was how to talk while holding your tongue, I think. Yeah, but even. Oh, how we doing, Jeff?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Doing okay.
Yes. It's this week. I wanted to talk a little bit about digital art, the comparison between digital art and computer art, and exactly the difference between the two. And then also let's analyze a little bit this week the difference between traditional artwork and digital artwork that people produce, and where the controversy or the questioning of digital art comes in, and why people question it. And then we'll deal a little bit about how and what I've been doing to kind of try and change and get the word out to as far as what digital art is and what you can do and how you can produce it to make it a legitimate physical art form, and also a legitimate art form in its present state. And I wanted to cover a little bit about that. So first, what I'd like to do is one of the things that I always hear is, what's the difference because people don't understand exactly what I do in my, we've been video blogging, and I've pretty much documented my process. Now, for those who haven't done it, I basically capture reference photos and then bring them into the computer. I then set up the composition of my painting, decide the style and technique I'm going to use, which is very similar to if I was going to do a regular, it's almost identical process as if I was going to do a regular painting, unless I was going to do a plein air painting where I take an easel and I actually go out into a field or go to a place and paint it live. Digitally, I use a high quality service to print out my digital painting onto a canvas, and then I take acrylic paints and finish the painting off with acrylic paints. My process is, I believe, unique because of the skill that I've learned over time, 5 years. But with that said, what I'd like to do is decipher what is computer art and what is digital art. Computer artwork is artwork created in the computer with the assistance of the computer, utilizing the tools of the computer to create the artwork. There's a lot of different things you can do. There's algorithms, there's filters, there's when I'm talking about filters, there's distortion filters, there's all these different effects that you can go in and add, and then you can alter, and then you actually create something in the computer, even abstract, or you use lines or whatnot, and that is computer art, because you're actually using the computer and itself as your painting medium, everything in there. And so you're not, even though it's created and it's being created digitally, you're actually using the computer. Whereas digital artwork is artwork created using the computer, not as the computer, but using the functions of a computer, like a stylus or your mouse, and either painting or charcoaling or drawing. That is the digital artwork aspect. You're actually creating in a more traditional way inside the computer. The computer gives you tools to mimic traditional ways of creating artwork, and that is where you're getting into digital artwork. Airbrushing, that you can airbrush inside you can use charcoals, you can use crayons, you can use pen and ink. All those tools you're not using a filter. You're actually creating the artwork with the tool, and being assisted by the computer to mimic similar aspects of traditional painting. So that's the main difference. One, you're actually using the computer. You're not concerned about traditional means to create the artwork. You're using all aspects of the computer, and either filters, like I said, or you're using different type grains. There's all different types of things waves you can run it through. You can run it all different types of distortions, blurs, smears, smudges. That's computer artwork. Whereas digital artwork is using the computer to create more traditional means of artwork, like an airbrush, or where the computer is mimicking those tools. So that's the main difference between those two.
And just clarifying, your artwork would be closest to which one of those styles?
To digital. It's closest to digital because I'm using my artistic talent and using the tools, and the brushes, and either charcoal, airbrush, paint brushes, everything, and I'm creating in a more traditional manner. So
Jeff, help me to understand then, and help our viewers to understand, how do you see, and how would you compare the value that you add mimicking the traditional tools on the computer, and then of course the acrylics, to the classic open air painting, like Nicolas Poisson was one that would go into the fields with a canvas and paint, or at least make his sketches and then paint. The Shepherds of Acadia is a classic example of that. So do you see your work being as appreciated eventually because of, you're not doing that, but you're doing a whole different kind of effort and a whole different medium?
Right. Well, there's a bunch of there's a lot of theories. If there's a lot of plein air artists who, and not all of them, but that are critical of creating in the computer digital artwork, like with brushes and what I'm doing. And I believe that, like photography, although digital artwork is not accepted, and right now how you output your digital artwork, we are in a transitional phase because there's a lot of people creating some amazing digital artwork, illustrations, this type of stuff, and they use their own technique, and they make some very, very beautiful artwork. But what's happening is then, well, what do they do with it from there? How do you print it out, and how do you make it timeless? And my answer through the canvases that I've been printing out and adding acrylics and really setting them up like the painters traditional painters before me, so that they last, is a big key. And there's a lot of people who will produce their art and then it becomes disposable, and that's where we're dealing with when you get into collectors. They're not sure how things are getting printed out. Is it acceptable, a photographic print on a nice piece of paper of a beautiful piece of digital art? Is that an acceptable thing? So we're right on the edge of defining what digital art is.
They're using it more in a production capacity as compared to a fine art capacity.
I mean, you just got to look at...
And that's where I think you're bringing it through, is you're taking those tools and blending them with some of the traditional tools outside of the computer, and you're elevating it to a fine art level.
Right, but I do believe eventually digital art can be elevated to a fine art level without adding in what I added in with the acrylics. So the acrylics, for me, the reason why I added in the acrylics isn't just because I wanted there to be actual paint on the canvas, is because when you're working digitally and then you transfer it to the canvas, there's so much more that still needs to be done, because your vision of that painting can only be finalized once you have it into the physical world. When you're working on the screen, there's some things that are beautiful that when you print it out, it's not going to be as beautiful, or the colors that you're using aren't going to be exactly what you're looking for when you print it out. So you have to make it that way, and that's the way all artists people who care about creating their artwork and want to create it specifically, this is what they're always doing. And that digital artwork is definitely right now an exploding medium. But one of the things, like, once again, is how do you print it out? How do you get it out there? I feel that I have a really good head start on most digital artists because of my experience in getting digital artwork for since 1989. I've been pulling it out of a computer and putting it on paper, ink and paper. A skill, which here's an example of how an artist fits into this. He works digitally. He understands the numbers that he's putting down, and he understands how those numbers translate to the inks he's going to use. When you translate a digital painting to the canvas, and you know what those colors are going to be because you've printed over 100 canvases, you start to understand exactly what those colors are going to be, and you paint to the strengths of the canvas and the ink. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to push digital art into the fine art and as an accepted medium. And if you just, all I could say is I'll just cover when photography came out, it wasn't an accepted medium. Ansel Adams broke that down to turn it into an accepted medium by coming up with his way of, and his vision and his process of showing this and making some beautiful, beautiful landscapes. But it was Andy Warhol is the one to take the photography and turn it into an art form. And he basically used photography in a way that it had never been before. And actually, in his final years, he was working in the computers. He had done some computer portraits from that time. We are talking like 1984, 85. He was working in the computer, understanding what that was going to be, which way to go. And really, it's not. It comes down to, in the end, it's the artist and his ability to express himself through different mediums. It's not the medium that defines the artist. It's the artist that defines the medium. And that's where we're going, and we're in this beginning stages of digital artwork starting to become an accepted medium in the mainstream, and it's such an exciting time. Rex Bruce, who I know on Facebook and have met on Facebook, this is one example. He has the Los Angeles Center for Digital Art. It's an art gallery in Los Angeles, and he's getting he does shows which the winners get their separate solo show, and he produces their digital art onto high quality photographic paper. So Rex, I really like what he's doing. He's a pioneer in digital artwork. He's laying down the groundwork for it, and his gallery in Los Angeles is something. And then it's also online. Of course, it's a digital. And you're going to post some links, of course. Yes, I definitely will post a link and everything. But it's just as this goes forward, this is the type of people, Rex and hopefully myself, and get it together. I mean, I understand I've got to get together with some other, and we just have to start just creating and, together producing artwork that is accepted into this particular medium, this new medium that people are just starting to understand. And I've said this a million times, but this is my goal, is to let everybody know what the difference is and how well and how recognized really, really good digital artists should be, because this medium, it's not traditional, it's new, but new is always good, especially if you give a new tool to an artist and what they can come up with. It's an exciting time, and I'm looking forward to it. Well put. Great answer. I think I don't have anything else to add to that. That was awesome. A little bit long-winded, I'm sorry. No, that explained it very well. And with that, folks, have a good week. Have a good week.